Michigan State football. Michigan State football. The names are out of who these guys are actually interested in going after as their new head coach. Mel Tucker has officially been fired. Credit to Michigan State for firing him. I am now more confused on the timeline of this because everybody told me they couldn't fire him because they need to wait for the hearing. Now they're not waiting for the hearing, but they didn't fire him last week. I don't get it. I don't know. I'm just happy he's out. I'm happy they finally said he's gone. He should be gone. He's out. Hilarious. If you read like the paperwork on this, it's absolutely hilarious that their letter to terminate him had to spell out for him what was wrong here. Like, it is wholly inappropriate to masturbate to a vendor on a phone call, Mel. They made the right decision and he's gone. Now we look forward and we try to move on. And there's a lot of names surfacing, including Mike Elko from Duke. Sean Lewis is on the list. There is one name I want to ask you about first. It's PJ Fleck. And PJ Fleck, Western Michigan, took him all the way to, I forget what it was. It was a BCS Bowl at the time. He took him to the Cotton Bowl, I believe. Huge bowl game, huge moment for a MAC program in the state of Michigan. He gets the Minnesota job, high-paying contract. Hasn't exactly been smooth sailing at Minnesota since, including this summer's, I don't know if you want to call them allegations, but the accusations that he wasn't running his program in a healthy way. And there was cult-like tendencies for a PJ Fleck football program. Well, surprise, surprise, he's one of the names on Michigan State's list. I had heard about this before anything went public. I went to dinner again, not to name drop, but last week I went to dinner with PJ Fleck's former quarterback, Zach Terrell. We were discussing options. I was like, do you think they'd be interested in PJ? He may or may not have confirmed some potential interest there. So the reports that Michigan State has interest from the Spartan side on PJ Fleck, I believe are true. What do you make of this? I'll throw it to you. Is this a good thing that PJ Fleck is on this list? And is there any reasonable outcome where he is Michigan State's next head coach?
Before I start this, I just want to say shout out to the Terrell family. I've heard great things about you. I hope to maybe one day meet you. But Greg and Mal always speak so highly of you guys, and I can't wait to meet you.
Terrell.
I know that you Terrells?
Terrell, Zach
Sorry.
Terrell.
It's not Terrell?
Zach Terrell. Yeah, Zach Terrell.
Terrell kind of slaps it.
By the way, Zach Terrell, he wants to be the Sleepers football correspondent. Maybe we should have got him on this, but sleepy, great basketball guy. Like, he was a pretty prestigious basketball recruit from the state of Indiana, played AAU with like Glenn Robinson III and a bunch of those names. Yeah, you would have a lot of fun talking to Zach Terrell.
I love QBs that can hoop. That's something that I'm always game for. If PJ Fleck becomes the coach of Michigan State football, I'm out. I'm boycotting. I'm not. No chance. Literally zero chance. I watch a game, support the program. I don't care. Call me a fake Spartan. Call me what you want. There is no world. I don't care how successful PJ Fleck has been. And honestly, I question some of that success. I really, truly do. I'm sorry. Like, yes, the Western Michigan days are great. He's been solid at Minnesota, I would say. Nothing to be like absolutely blown away about. Absolutely not. You cannot have the situation that we have, fire Mel Tucker for being morally wrong, and then bring in literally the Caucasian morally wrong version of Mel Tucker, not to the same extent, but like literally there is a lot of blurred lines with PJ Fleck and how he coaches his programs and who he is as a person. And we're not going to speak on rumors on this show because rumors are nasty and they're never confirmed, but some of the rumors are kind of nasty. And I do not want that nasty man coaching my football team. Just no, you cannot, coming after making a mistake and damn near setting the program back by giving Mel Tucker $95 million, turn around and give a very large sum of money to another coach who we have questions about, not, kind of how he carries himself. Like, you definitely have to be worried about how PJ Fleck carries himself. So I'm completely out on it. It would be detrimental to the Michigan State football program. I honestly think that Mel Tucker has already set us back a couple years. If we do PJ Fleck, you can round that up to setting us back like a decade. We will be cooked.
Wow. Okay. I wasn't sure where you would be on this. I think you're on the right side. I'll say
Also,
that.
it is very distracting, the fact that all I can think about is that you look like JJ McCarthy ever since you mentioned the hair thing.
That's a compliment. Good looking guy there. So PJ Fleck, things I believe
No,
about him. Some things I believe about PJ Fleck. He is an elite, to use one of his own words. He loves the word elite. He is an elite motivator. I think that if there are players who buy into what he's selling, he will motivate them to do anything. Like, call that cult-like, call that whatever you want. If you are officially declaring yourself as a player a PJ Fleck guy who plays for PJ Fleck, your coach will have you ready to run through a wall, run a marathon, do anything to win a football game, do anything that the team needs of you. I think he's one of the best in the game at that. I think because of that, he is a good football coach. Minnesota has not had all the success in the world, but I believe strongly PJ Fleck doing what he did at Western Michigan, and in general, he's had good years at Minnesota. He's had some okay years at Minnesota. I believe he is a good football coach. If you're Michigan State, I don't know how you even list this guy as a target. Despite
listed
that,
him?
I don't know. It's all the reports. You can go through like all the various news outlets are reporting who there's interest in, and he's on the list of reports card because there is interest, because Michigan State is actually interested in this guy. That's insane. Okay, you need to kind of wipe the slate clean. Number one, but like just hire some, not even hiring, like have the guys you're targeting, the names that are associated with who Michigan State might want, they need to be good people. They need to be clean resumes. And I know, like, if Zach Terrell somehow listens to this, God bless him, he's going to fight me to the death that PJ Fleck's a great person. And I don't know PJ Fleck personally. So I'm just speaking to what is publicly confirmed. You can't fire a catchphrase shtick gimmick guy who was publicly morally ambiguous to hire another catchphrase shtick guy who was publicly morally ambiguous, who has current accusations that he doesn't run his program the right way. Like, that's so insane to me. And I'm a Michigan State alum, you guys. Can somebody please, that is a decision maker at that university somewhere, please just show me that you care about making a good decision somewhere, please. Like, we have to just get this right. This is like the most critical hire at one of the most critical points in Michigan State athletic department history. And it's dumb. It's gross. It's wrong that PJ Fleck is one of the first names we hear you're interested in. It's insane. And I don't think PJ Fleck's going to end up at Michigan State for a variety of reasons. I think there already is public outcry. And I think the university will be smart and probably listen to who the fans are gravitating to on this. But Michigan State fans are going to react like you just did. Like, they don't want PJ Fleck in this spot for all the reasons we just listed. And the other guys on the list, I think, are much better fits. They're much better, for lack of a better word, people. They don't have some of these negative connotations associated with them.
Do you consider me to be dramatic?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you haven't seen anything yet if we hire PJ Fleck. I'm telling you right now, I will say goodbye to my wife for a couple of days, as many days as needed, and I will sit out in front of Spartan Stadium on a Gandhi-like hunger strike, and my blood will be on Michigan State's hands until they fire PJ Fleck. I'm letting that be known right now. I will go on a hunger strike, and I'm big and I need food. So I don't know how long that would. I probably only last a week without food, but my blood would be on Michigan State's hands.
You've been known to make a bleach cocktail after a Michigan State football loss. What would your new cocktail be if PJ Fleck was the head coach?
Wouldn't be one. I'd take the tub of bleach and I would shotgun it. I wouldn't even make a mixie.
All right. Well, luckily, I don't think you're going to have to worry about this, although it is a little ominous and concerning. He is on the list. The other names that were here, I mentioned a couple of them at the top. Mike Elko, Sean Lewis. Do you have a clear preferential option here from your perspective? Who do you want to see hired as Michigan State's next head coach?
You know, I've been so damn focused on not wanting PJ Fleck. I haven't given the other guys, I don't think, enough ample time to look into it. Off my first initial reaction, I'm kind of in on the Elko hire. I think that he's done a great job at Duke, at a school that really doesn't have that many football resources, I suppose. I think he's done a pretty good job of building that program. And I think the next coach of Michigan State has to be somebody who has built a program to success. So it needs to be somebody who took over a program that was in a spot like we're in, 5-7, 4-8, 3-9, whatever it was the year before they got there. And they improved across the board. They improved recruiting. They improved, the talent pool of players. They improved offensively, defensively, special teams. And just a guy who's a good person too would be really, really good. If we can get a good person, that'd be massive. And that should be honestly the first thing that we should do, and then work our way down to the football reasons. Has to be a good person. And I have a pipe dream also that if we do get Elko, he can bring Riley Leonard with him. That'd be fire.
So it does genuinely matter to get a good person. I'm glad we're both calling that out. Is Riley Leonard, does he still have eligibility?
I want to say he's only maybe a redshirt sophomore.
I want to look this
up. Is he a senior?
I was thinking in my head he's already like a 5th-year guy, but
he might be. You know how bad I am with that.
Right? I'm looking at him. No, he is in his 3rd season right now. So yeah, potentially 2 years of Riley Leonard if he came. That would be so the thing is here, I do think we talked about a little bit, like we don't know where this turns for Michigan State and they're in trouble and there's a long way to go. But the truth is, like, in this transfer portal era, if you make the right hire, it can change immediately. In fact, Mel was the wrong hire and it changed immediately because he hit on one transfer and some other guys too. But like, there is a world where Michigan State football is good immediately as soon as next year. If things just break right, if the dominoes fall correctly. And like certainly getting Riley Leonard with Mike Elko would almost put them in a competitive spot immediately, in my opinion, with the other pieces around them. Although I don't know what that means for your boy Caden Hauser, who just came off the best drive of his career and could still be the future for Michigan State football, depending on who you ask. But here's one thing. I like Elko, and I think Justin Thind has made a good point. He wrote an article for 24/7 that he believes Elko should be the guy. And I think of the candidates I've heard, I am the most in on Elko. I think there's a good alignment between what he's doing at Duke right now, a basketball school, and taking that and translating it to Michigan State. I think he's a good coach. I think you look at his resume, he's a defensive guy. He's coached a bunch of good defenses at big programs, Notre Dame history. All of this is good. I like all of it. I also think he would take the job. That's another important part of this. Like, you gotta spend your time recruiting guys who would take the job. I think Michigan State got bit in the past with they're after Luke Fickell. He wouldn't take the job. So you need to approach this of let's chase guys and waste our time or spend our time on guys who would take the job. Elko would be good, in my opinion there. Finn made a good point. A lot of fans want an offensive guy. And if the best offensive candidate is like a B- and the best defensive guy is a B+, you take the B+. Like, you shouldn't just say we want this type of guy, so we need to find it. You hire the best coach available. And if you believe that's Mike Elko, you should make that hire. The one problem I have with Mike Elko that I think applies to a lot of the guys on this list right now, and I'd be curious your answer on this. I think Michigan State should be trying to get a more established veteran head coach than this. And I don't even know who those candidates would be. It's a difficult thing to do. But I think one of the largest mistakes we collectively made on Mel Tucker was assuming this guy was a breakout star when he really had like half a good season somewhere. Mike Elko, all signs point to being really good. He's had half a good season somewhere. Like,
no, well, it's been more than a half though for Elko.
Okay, a season and a half, right? Like,
I might be wrong, but I think he's going on his 3rd season at Duke.
I thought he was in year 2.
Can you check that really quickly?
Yeah,
just before I do comment.
What I was on with Elko, or my interpretation of this, was he took over a team that had won 2 games in 3 games the 2 previous years. Yeah. Year 1 was last season. He went 9-4 at Duke, won the Military Bowl. Good season. This year, they're off to a 3-0 start with a win over Clemson.
Okay, so this is his second year. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So collectively, now hear me out. 12-4 is objectively great. 12-4 in the ACC as the Duke head coach with what he took over. Like, yeah, that passes the eye test. That passes the resume test, everything. Football's weird, man. Like bad football coaches have good seasons sometimes. Look no further than the guy that just left East Lansing. Like, that is a thing. And I would not make the same mistake again of like, we think this guy is the best coach in the game. We have all this money to throw, so let's throw it at him because he beat Clemson once and lost 4 games last year. We don't know. Like, he's at Duke, so this is tough. Mike Elko got a big contract at Duke, but like, we don't know. 2 years from now, Mike Elko might be horrible at Duke again. Like, we don't have any reason to think that's going to happen. But there are candidates you could hire here, in my opinion, and I won't name names, and I don't know how reasonable any of them are, but I think they could get a guy who's coached 10 plus years in a head coach thing that, like, okay, maybe he had a dip and he built it back up. Like, it's safer, in my opinion, to get a vet like that. One guy I would just point out, they did try to get this guy, Luke Fickell, in my opinion, is an example of what they should go after. And Fickell, not necessarily like a head coach for a ton of years, but like, you saw what he did at Ohio State, then you saw what he did at Cincinnati, and now he's at Wisconsin. Like, you pretty much know what you're getting with Luke Fickell. If I'm Michigan State, I would get a guy what you're getting. And even if Mike Elko is the best name on the list right now, I don't think we have a clue what we're getting if Mike Elko is the head coach at Michigan State.
Yeah. And, so many things factor into this too, like as far as buyouts and contracts. And that's the one good thing about Elko is that as far as money wise, like, we can blow Duke out of the water with this contract, and this buyout won't be an issue. I like this is what I'll say. I like your thought process with that, like the path of the Fickell, like a Fickell type path. Issue though, right now, I don't know if I can name off the top of my head who that coach would be. I would have to think about it and actually look into it a little bit. But off the top of my head, I don't know who that like Luke Fickell type coach would exactly be.
I'm trying to pick one too.
Also, you're an eye test guy, like an eye test type of fella. I just want you to know that Sean Lewis's, because you're talking about the OC analyst at Colorado, correct?
Yeah, he was one.
Yeah, his Twitter bio says life is too short to huddle.
I like that.
I absolutely love that.
I like that.
That's massive.
Some other names thrown out here: Oregon State's Jonathan Smith, Charles Huff from Marshall. I'd just say this on Jonathan Smith: he's 29 and 31 in 6 years. He started his career 2-10, 5-7, 2-5, 7-6. He just went 10-3 last year, and they're 3-0 this year. But like, again, like that doesn't scream great football coach to me, even if things are turned around at the moment. Like, I just don't know, man. That was one of my biggest gripes with Mel before all the Mel shit went down, was just like, this guy's resume at Colorado stinks. And I don't know. We're convinced he's going to be it because he has a bunch of great catchphrases. Like, and I get none of these guys are that, but can we get a resume? Like, it's Michigan State, man. They have a bunch of money. Like, I think we're downplaying who Michigan State could get. And maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe like the administration has ruined this, and there's a lot of good coaches who won't be interested in this because of how bad the administration's been. But like, they're not a poverty program. We know they're not a poverty program money-wise, and I think great coaches should want to coach here, especially at the rate they can pay. So
Michigan State leadership has a little bit of Michigan admissions in them.
A little bit? Like, dog. And maybe I'm the curse man. I'm a Michigan State football fan, Michigan basketball fan. I make no sense, and my teams are horrible because of me. So I feel like these names were thrown around, like Mike Elko and Jonathan Smith and Sean Lewis, like, those are Minnesota hires. Like, why are we acting like we're Minnesota? We can pay a guy a top 10 salary in the sport. I don't want to give a top 10 salary in the sport to a guy who's never won anything before. I want to give a top 10 salary in the sport to like a clear good coach. And I don't know, look around. Like, I named Luke Fickell, but like, I would consider Brett Bielema what Illinois did. He's struggling at Illinois right now, but like, Bielema's a proven coach who's won in the Big Ten before. Go give me someone like that. Give me someone.
But he's stinking it up right now.
He was good last year. Again, football's weird. Every year, it's a weird year-to-year thing. Like, his quarterback stinks, so they look horrible right now.
Yeah.
Missed on a quarterback. Like, I want a guy who, like, we have 20 years of resume stuff on that, like, he's been a good coach, and then he's been a bad coach, and then he's been a good coach again.
Okay. What last thing I'll say about this though, with the guys that you're naming, doesn't it take a school to kind of get in on them earlier to realize that they are a good coach?
Yeah, probably.
It takes one school to jump in on them, and then everyone figures out like they're this great coach. So maybe it's more so if Michigan State wants to get in kind of on the ground level with somebody who's showing some promise, but more promise than what I know you're going to say. Like, that's exactly what we did with Mel. Mel was a lot of projecting. Like, Mel's best season at Colorado was what, 3-9?
Yeah.
And he came from the Saban coaching tree at Georgia, so like he got that bump. Or sorry, not the Saban, from the Saban coaching tree, but also was at Georgia, so got the Georgia bump as well. I think you do want to try to get in on a guy early, but also have a little bit of success that backs that up. And like, I don't have a favorite. Just give me a good person, and I'll work with it. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I would just like vet some vetty guys first. You got all this money. You got the money cannons right now. You just saved $80 million firing this guy. It's the biggest blessing Michigan State football could have asked for. Like, what's Chris Peterson doing? He stepped down from coaching a year ago. Like, are we going to call Chris Peterson and offer him $70 million and he's going to turn down?
Would you want Whittingham from Utah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the type.
Yeah, just like a guy that is a vet coach that's been around that we know has years of winning under him at some point. Like, I think that's who Michigan State should go after if you're serious about being competitive, instead of a guy who's had one good season on his resume, which is what every guy on Finn's list is. And I like Elko. I think if they hire Elko, I am optimistic that it'll work out. But you better not pay him a top 10 salary. Don't make that mistake again for a guy who went 10-4, 9-4 in the ACC. It's the best year he's had. And he beat Clemson this year. We have no idea how good Clemson is. Like, let's just slow down with it a little bit, but we'll see. The one name we haven't mentioned that I have heard named as a candidate, I want to run by you, that I think of the names mentioned, this is who I would hire. Brian Hartline, coordinator at Ohio State.
I think, yeah, I think I would like that. I wonder how realistic it would be to get him.
I think if you're going to go the unproven route, he is the best name on the board for me.
Don't you want someone with but you just said you want a head coaching experience, though.
Yeah, I would go the experience route over this. But if the names mentioned, the one guy I would take the shot on being something he hasn't been before is Hartline.
I mean, I wouldn't hate that at all.
Yeah, I think if you can steal a coordinator from pretty much an elite system at Ohio State that has never head coached before, and the shot is, hey, maybe there's upside here, maybe he's an elite coach, then yeah, I like that. I think the offenses would be good. I think recruits would want to play for him. I like that more than let's throw a bunch of money at Mike Elko.
Yeah, still haven't made my official stance, but I do like the thought process there.
Okay. All right, this will be a fascinating one to watch because I think PJ is a real candidate here. So
it's going to get wicked.